Good afternoon, YouTube. You know what? Hang on a minute. I'll be right back. I don't think I can talk to you guys without coffee. Is that okay? I hope that's okay. Should we put this on follow mode here? Ooh. I've been, this is unrelated. I've been roasting my own coffee. This is a 5-pound bag of Ethiopian coffee. I'm about halfway through that bag. It's fun and exciting. But that's not what I'm here to talk to you guys about. You know, you guys already know about my 3-inch and my 4-inch Kestrel builds. They're little HD freestyle builds. My 3-inch with a 650 milliamp 4S comes in at around 225 grams, and the 4-inch with bigger motors comes in at, I don't know, 275 or so. It's a little overweight. This is the 4-inch with the 1606 motors, and both quads are the same except for the motors and the arms. The arms on the 4-inch are a little longer. This is the Diatone Mamba F4 stack. This one has a Race Day Quads 1000 milliamp hour VTX. The other one has an AKK 800, but they're pretty similar. Both have Caddx turtles. This one I'm trying out some 3.5-inch Emax props. I really like the way these feel. They got a little more prop wash than I wanted, but I like the way they feel. But one of the goals I had with the 4-inch, I had a 4-inch a long time ago. One of my first racing quads was a Holy Bro Shuriken 180 Pro with these big old 2204 motors. It was a heavy, big honking, heavy 4-inch. It's like a 5-inch with smaller props. What I'm trying to do here is this is a 3-inch scaled up to 4 inches. And, since I already started, when I started this, the only props I could use were the HQ 4x3x3 were the best prop. And they didn't get me where I wanted to go. And then Emax came out with a bind and fly little 4-inch Baby Hawk. It's a Baby Hawk, I think. Boy, I hope I'm not lying about that. But that meant they had some 4-inch props that I got to try. They have a 4x2.8 and a 4x2.4. And I really liked the 4x2.4. But one of my goals for the 4-inch, scaling up a 3-inch to a 4-inch, was that I was hoping we can get some long-range flights out of this little build. I enjoy the idea of either of these Kestrels costs about $250 with the HD camera, and I think that's kind of neat because that's about what a GoPro costs. And so you can have $250 up in the air, and that's all you're risking when you fly the thing. Not a $500 quad with a $400 GoPro and, whatever else you have up there. It's probably about it. But almost $1,000 versus $250. I think that's neat. About 2 years ago, I started experimenting with 6-inch props and 5.5-inch props. And when I put those on my T-Motor F40 quads, you'd go from cruising for 5 minutes, 6 minutes maybe, 30 mile an hour cruising to, 8, 9 minutes of cruising with a 6-inch prop with no other changes. And it's a huge efficiency gain when you put bigger props on. And we tried that with another bind and fly quad that we all had. It was this B-Fight 210. I put all the guts on a bigger frame and I put some 6-inch props on it because with the 5-inch props, I had a lot of friends that were hitting 9, 10 minutes of flight with 5-inch props. Just cruising around the park, nothing fancy. And I figured, well, what if we get another 3 or 4 minutes out of that? And we didn't. 6-inch props, it was basically a wash. I'm guessing there just wasn't enough power in those little 2204 motors. Maybe they're 2205s. Whatever they are, they're cheap motors. They're not powerful motors. But I was hoping some 1606 motors would be enough for 4-inch props. And that's kind of a wash. I'm not getting any extra flight time out of the 4-inch build. Maybe it's also a little heavier. I don't really have an apples to apples comparison here. It's not great science. 3 things happened recently that got me excited about these larger props again. I already showed you the 3.5-inch Emax props. These are way better than the bullnose props I made, of 3.5-inch props I made on my CNC machine. This is way better. I like these. Then I noticed Zoe FPV. Zoe FPV is fantastic. You should go check out her channel. I'll link to it here. You probably already know her, though, so I don't know why I'm telling you. But her company, Outcast Droneworks, has these fantastic little 2-cell batteries with a little XT30 connector on here. This is a 3250 milliamp battery. And I was wondering, what would happen if I plugged this into my 3-inch and 4-inch quad? Would it even run on 2S? I mean, I'm pretty sure this ESC claims it only works on 3S or 4S, but I plugged in, I had an extra 1000 milliamp 2S LiPo. I plugged that into my 3-inch. I had video, it was recording HD, it hovered, I was amazed. So the 1000 milliamp pack wasn't big, it wasn't heavy enough, so I taped together a stack of $1.50 in quarters, brought me up to the same, this is about 100 grams. That brought my 1000 milliamp, my terrible 1000 milliamp battery up to this weight. And I went out and flew, and it worked. So I came home and I ordered Zoe's battery, and it's fantastic. But that's not the only interesting thing here. Then, or at the same time, I don't know, HQ came out with these T-mount 4x2.5 bi-blade props. And these are amazing. With these props on these 1306 4000 kV motors on 2S, this 3-inch Kestrel of mine comes in at 249 grams, and I managed to get a 19-minute flight cruising at about 15, maybe 20 miles an hour. This is amazing. It had bobbles while it was flying, and I didn't really want to tune it that day. I wanted to see how far it would go, and 19 minutes. That's pretty good. I put some HQ 3x2.5x3 props on the next day and did the same sort of test, and I only made it 6 minutes. So these 4-inch props are making a pretty significant difference in efficiency here. They just barely fit. If you can probably hear this. That's hitting. I have to kind of twist the arms out of the way to get these to clear. There's 3 layouts for the Kestrel in my source code. There's the big 4-inch frame, which is just about as wide as I would want to go for a 4-inch. I like wider quads. My 5-inch quads are actually 6-inch frames. I like the wider stance. It's a little more stable, and I don't really need the quad to be smaller. I just want it especially even these micros, I just want them to fit into 250 grams. So I have a 4-inch layout. I have a tiny compact 3-inch layout that I wasn't too happy with, but it's about as tight as you can make a Kestrel and still fit 3-inch props on. But I call this one that I'm flying the 3-inch long arm, and it's just about big enough for 4-inch props. I might make them 2 or 3 millimeters longer, because these props will go on without any trouble then. Last night, you can't see it under here, there's a tiny 5-gram GPS module under here. And when I put that on, it took the quad from about 248 grams to 253. So I had to save some weight. I took out, there's only 2 screws on the motors now. That saved me about 3 grams, 2.5 grams, 3 grams. I took off my battery bumper, and I actually got my last 0.8 of a gram by cutting the battery strap, trimming the sides and taking off some of the Velcro at the end here, making it shorter. I took off my zip tie holding down my VTX. I did a lot of work to get under 250 grams. I don't really need to be under 250 grams, but I'd rather be under 250 grams. I think it's a more interesting build. The heaviest thing on here is this giant 1000 milliwatt VTX and the big circular polarized antenna. Big. There's probably 5 or 6 grams to be saved there. And the next thing I was thinking about doing was snipping off the balance lead on the Zoe's awesome 3250 milliamp pack just to get me under 250. When I fly this tomorrow, I think I'm going to go over 250 a bit because I'm going to have to put the ND filter back on, and that's probably half a gram. But it's close enough, right? We're learning. But I've got Crossfire, GPS, 1306 motors, and 4-inch props, and it should be able to cruise for 19 minutes. But I don't know, the flight time is what I should be aiming for. I don't have any science yet. This video is not about the science. This is the video where I tell you what I think is going to happen tomorrow and the next day. It might take me a week to get all this data. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen, what I'm hoping is going to happen. And then next time I come back, I'll tell you if I was right. And you guys can leave comments and tell me if I'm an idiot. I'm usually an idiot, and it's fine. I don't mind. Now, the 4-inch has GPS, so I got a feel for how fast 15 miles an hour is. The 3-inch on the 2S pack, and I was probably going between 15 and 20 miles an hour most of the time for that 19-minute flight, but I'm not positive. It started out at around 45% throttle to maintain that cruise on the 2S. It's a lot of throttle. And by the time the battery was dead down at 3 volts, it was, I needed about 62, 63% throttle to, and I was probably flying a little bit slower. We don't have the science for that. So here's what I'm thinking, Judy. Tell me if I'm crazy here. Let's say we need 30% throttle to hover. I don't even know if that's true, but we're going to find out tomorrow. We need 30% throttle to hover, and I'm flying forward with 45% throttle. And I know this is not quite accurate here, but that means 2/3 of my power is going to keeping me in the air, and 1/3 of my power is going into propelling me forward. If the goal is to go long range and fly up some kind of a mountain somewhere, you don't necessarily want it to take 19 minutes to get there. You want to get as much distance as you can, right? So I'm thinking maybe this is the wrong thing to do. Maybe I should be flying at 30 miles an hour at 75% throttle so that more than half of my watts are going into forward flight instead of just keeping me in the air. And that's what I want to find out tomorrow. We have GPS now, so it's actually going to report distance traveled. Even if you're going in a circle, the GPS will still record that you flew around in a circle for so many feet, right? My 5-inch quads usually get, a mile to a mile and a half of, freestyle flying. And math tells me that if I was flying at 15 miles an hour, I flew 5 3/4 miles last weekend when I did this test, or the weekend before. So the goal is to get a flight of greater than 6 miles. So let me know in the comments if you think that's going to be possible. I'm pretty confident that we're going to blast right through 6 miles. I'm thinking that we're going to hit 7 or 8 miles total. It's just going to be looping around, though. Just looping around the golf course. I don't have a target in mind yet. I have a lot of stuff to talk about regarding my 5-inch frame, but that's going to go in another video. I don't think that's appropriate here. The flight footage here that I'm going to include in this video, it's very boring. It's, I started out just going out into the golf course and back, out and back, and then, just looking around. And when the voltage started to get lower, I started to get a little worried. I didn't know if it was just going to fall out of the sky when I hit 3.2 volts or something. So when I got under 3.3, I came out of the wet areas of the golf course and came back into the parking lot, and I was doing slow laps around the parking lot until I landed. Oh, I know what you need to know about. On the 3-inch props, I pushed it a little farther. I made a note. On the 4-inch props, I landed when I got under 3 volts. I just came right home and landed. On the 3-inch props, when I saw it go under 3 volts, I hollered out to everybody that was around me. I said, remember 16 minutes for me, because that's when I should have landed. And I figured maybe I'm going to fly 2 or 3 more minutes still on these 3-inch props. No. Once it got below 3 volts, I had less than 30 seconds left before it pretty much fell out of the sky. I was giving it more and more and more and more throttle until I couldn't even stay off the ground at 90% throttle. It was toast. But when I landed and checked the voltage, it was reading 3.2 or 3.3 volts. So I did not abuse the battery in any way when we did that. So I'm pretty excited about that. Is this upside down? This is upside down. Check out the Outcast Droneworks battery. It's fantastic. I've not taken this apart to see what's inside. I'm not going to. I think it's a good value. It's about $38, I think. Yeah, I've looked up the high discharge cells, and I'd have to... This is a good value. I'm happy with this. It costs a little more than just buying the cells and doing it yourself, but I didn't have to do it, so it's a good value. Zoe, you're doing a good job. Fantastic job. I hear she's working on a 4S version of this battery, and I'm excited to try that. I bet my 6-inch quad on 6-inch props on 4S with my 1900 kV motors will go far. I don't know how far, but we got GPS, so we can find out, right? Anyhow, I'm going to fly tomorrow and the next day, hopefully, and get some real data. It's tough to... This is the hardest testing I've ever done because it takes 20 minutes. You have to sit in the goggles for 20 minutes every time you do one of these tests. Then you have to charge the battery and then to change your variables and do it again for 20 minutes. It's yeah, it's not a fast this is slow. But anyhow, if you like what I'm doing, subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. I've got some write-ups on this stuff on my blog. There'll be a link down there. Nobody watches me on YouTube. It's tons of people read my blog. You guys would be surprised how many people read my blog. Not as many people read my FPV stuff on my blog, but yeah, my blog's way more popular than YouTube. I'm sorry. I'm bad at this. I got a new lighting setup here. Should I show you guys the lighting setup here? This is kind of ridiculous. This is going to get blown out, isn't it? I've got a reflector. This is a doodad, a diffuser. Got one of these big honking 6,000 lumen bulbs in an IKEA arm, just like that IKEA arm that my webcam is sitting in there. And we'll see how I did here. I think this is better than what I was doing. And maybe I'll post a little snippet of me falling down. That's pretty good. But you guys have a good day. Yeah. I'm going to hang up now.